Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly, and today I am going to be throwing out a Booker predictions video. This is a Booker predictions video for the Booker Prize for Fiction in 2023. I did a whole video about my musings of what it's like to follow the process of a book prize. And if you haven't seen that video, it's a good video to, I think, start out with. I mean, you're probably just here for the Booker predictions, but I wanted to throw that out because it is connected to this video, at least in topic. But I think I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books. I have 11 books that I'm predicting what will be on the Booker's long list for 2023. If you are new to my channel, then hi, I'm Shelly, and I absolutely love following book prizes. I don't often, well, I try not to get over obsessed about reading the entire long list or the entire short list. Mostly it's a fun process to follow, and that's why I mentioned the other video. Gosh, okay, Shelly, get it together. It's a really fun process to follow. I really enjoy following book prizes, and the Booker is one of the book prizes that I like to follow. But I try not to get caught up with reading everything, because as much as I like following book prizes, I don't like them to boss me around. I don't like them to take over my reading life. I like to feel like I have control of my reading life and that I am choosing the books that I want to read. And so, yeah, if you also like these kinds of videos, maybe slightly chaotic, but coming from someone with a lot of energy, then I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. My joyful nemesis here on booktube, Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. Gosh, Scott, sometimes I stumble over your channel name. My nemesis here, Scott at oh my gosh. The evil twin of mine, Scott, at the channel Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, put out a wonderful predictions video. In which he was like analyzing the judges for the Booker and choosing books that he feels like would align with their taste. He went about it what is happening today? He went about this with a totally different mindset than me. And I would really encourage you to watch his channel because he is, you know, very articulate, well-researched. My video is more, my predictions is taking the route of what I would be tempted to buy or to read if they made the Booker list. So I guess this is more, I think, what you would consider a wish list, a Booker wish list. Like if all of these books made the long list, it would be really hard for me not to read the entire long list. That is the vibe with my video. And so I have 3 categories. Books I've actually read, books that I have read that are potentials. I have books from authors I already know or have read before, and then books that are just intriguing me with their titles and descriptions. I also used a website for the most part. I used the Goodreads group Booker Potentials, because I am terrible with the date range in terms of the Booker. It's not, I don't want to say it's confusing, it's just a lot of work to look up, to be intrigued by a book title, look up to see when it was released in the UK, and then also try and align it with the Booker dates. So I cheated a little bit, and I used this Goodreads group called Booker Potentials, I think it's called. I will leave the group link down below, and I use that to help guide most of my choices. Some of them are like my own, and maybe they don't even qualify for the Booker long list, but I wanted to throw them on here just in case they do. All right, so the first book that I've read before is, of course, everyone's kind of assuming that she's going to be on the long list, and that is Barbara Kingsolver's Demon Copperhead. I read this earlier this year. This is the co-winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. Actually, the other co-winner, Hernan Diaz's Trust, was longlisted and maybe shortlisted, I can't remember, for the Booker last year. And I just feel like, you know, if all things are equal and fair, then Firebird Kingsolver will be longlisted with her book, Demon Copperhead, for this year's Booker. The other book, and you know, by the way, I love the book. I thought it was fantastic. Love the character of Demon. Thought it was brilliant. It was a brilliant read, and it's making me want to read David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, which Demon Copperhead was inspired by. And then the other book is Lucy by the Sea, an Elizabeth Strout book. It's her number 4 book in the Lucy Barton series. William was longlisted and shortlisted last year, and I thought it was a wonderful, gorgeous, intense, and beautiful read that was just had a couple of sucker punches to the gut in terms of emotions. That book was, it sticks with me as being quite, it really got to me in the feels. Lucy by the Sea was a little less impactful, like emotionally impactful, but I did really enjoy the commentary that Elizabeth Strout put in about the pandemic. I thought it was timely, really interesting, and she's been longlisted and shortlisted for the Booker before Elizabeth Strout has for this particular series, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her pop up again. I also could see, her not popping up on this list because she's been honored before, but, just had to throw that out there. Okay, now moving on to books from authors that I have read from before, or from whom I have read in the past. And that would be, and I have descriptions for these books. So first up would be Ann Patchett's new book, Tom Lake. So Tom Lake, I have my computer here for descriptions of books that I am less familiar with. So Tom Lake is going to be a COVID-19, a pandemic fiction book. So it's set just a few years ago, and it's set, because the setting has to do with the lockdown. So here we are in the United States, in Michigan, the state of Michigan, and due to the pandemic, this family is pushed together, and what these daughters and this mother are doing is that they're picking cherries from a cherry tree, and they're trying to distract themselves from this global thing that is happening, and that is forcing them to spend a lot of time together. And so to distract her daughters, her adult daughters I should say, a mother goes on and decides to tell her story of this time in which she was romantically involved with a megawatt movie star. And, I think Ann Patchett at this point in her career is just one of those superb and incredible storytellers that everyone expects to get a really great book from. And I believe, it was starred reviewed by Kirkus and Booklist. These early reviewers are giving it the thumbs up. And I just think that, it's probably going to be Ann Patchett at her best. And I would just want to be surprised if it was included on the Booker's long list. Doesn't that sound good? A cherry orchard. A romantic tale told by a mother to her daughters. I love that. I think that's fantastic. I also have, my own mother, and I have sisters, and I think it's just kind of pulling at my heartstrings. I might just read this if it's included on the Booker's long list or not. Maybe I'll just pick this up and read it because it does sound really good. Next up, we have August Blue from Deborah Levy. I read The Man Who Saw Everything and one of her installments of her Living Memoir series. Now, this is going to be about a 34-year-old who encounters her double. So it's Eliza Anderson, who is a famous pianist, and ends up doing a disastrous performance of Rachmaninoff. For anybody who can even play Rachmaninoff, hands down to you. So she sees a woman, disastrous performance. She sees a woman, and the woman somehow gets inside of her head. I wonder if it's a little bit cerebral, which actually doesn't sound quite like my kind of book. And the woman in her thoughts in Eliza's head just says that Eliza is running away from something. Or Eliza, Shelley, Elsa's the character's name, not Eliza. I'm giving you all incorrect information. Through some internal processing, going inside of Elsa's feelings, it starts to reveal a bit about Elsa's past and why she is the way that she is. I am a big sucker for a book about music or that has themes of classical music in it. It's one of my things. Like, classical music is one of the things that I love. And so, you know, this is, you know, it's interesting. Playing with doppelgangers, playing with internal lives and music, themes of music. And yeah, so Deborah Levy, wouldn't be surprised if she showed up on the Booker. The last author to make this list is Eleanor Catton's Birnam Wood. Now, this has been out for a minute, and Eleanor Catton, she's won the Booker before for her book, The Luminaries. Now, this is about a guerrilla gardening group, and there's financial struggles, and it's supposed to be like an eco-thriller, so themes of the environment emerging in this novel. What I've heard is that it's very slow for about 2/3 of the way through, and then it has an explosive ending. But I've heard that the very slow start to this book is a turnoff for a lot of people. Like, a lot of readers are giving the book negative reviews or middling to negative reviews because of its very, very, very slow, like, paint dry pacing at the beginning. Now, I don't know. I don't mind slow books, so I wonder if I would like this, but I'm not really sure. So I guess we'll see what the Booker judges think of it. But Eleanor Catton is someone that I am familiar with, or at least her work. And gosh, yeah, The Luminaries was incredible. So hopefully Birnam Wood holds up to that standard. Though I'm thinking that so far in terms of reviews, it doesn't. But I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up on the Booker Longlist. We have now entered the part of the list of books from authors that I know nothing about or that I've never read from. I'm not really familiar with their work. Now, this first book has been reviewed, I believe, by Scott, my nemesis at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and I believe he liked it, which means that I will despise this book if everything comes together the way that I think it will come together. So, you know, I don't know. I'm feeling kind of about that. But it's called Chain Gang All-Stars. The author is Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. And this is what Library Read says it's all about. In a near future America, prisons can opt into a gruesome program of death matches against other prisoners. Their lives are broadcast to a bloodthirsty public, and they can win their freedom if they kill enough opponents. The novel employs an effective series of rotating narrators to tell all sides of the story, forcing us to look at how we dehumanize prisons. So it sounds like political commentary. It sounds like political. Is that what I'm trying to say? It sounds like public commentary meets public commentary. It sounds like a hot button issue. Commentary on a hot button. Shelley, learn how to speak, girl. It sounds like commentary on a hot button issue. I still did it. Oh my gosh. I can't talk. Oh my gosh. Okay, it sounds like commentary on a hot button issue, i.e. prisons and the way that we view prisons, and it sounds like that meets the Hunger Games. Okay, that's what I was trying to say this whole time. I'm gonna move on. Another book I might just read on my own because it sounds so darn good, and that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I have not read, but I do own something by R.F. Kuang. I own The Poppy Wars. And her new book is about the publishing world, which I think might really appeal to the judges. And it's about a woman who steals another woman who happens to be dying, her manuscript, and just makes it her own. It's supposed to have an unreliable narrator, which I love, by the way, and she's supposed to go quite unhinged at the end, which I also love. Those are like buzzwords for me. So this is checking all of my boxes, and I am excited to see if it makes the long list for the Booker, but even if it doesn't, I'll probably pick it up and read it. Okay, so next up on the list is Small Worlds by Caleb Nelson. And this is going to be set over 3 summers, and we're checking in with the same characters, or at least the same character named Stephen, who is a first-generation Londoner born to Ghanaian immigrant parents. And it's separated into 3 separate sections. I know Charlie Brooks recently reviewed this in one of her wrap-ups and she loved it. And so in every summer that we check in with this character, we see a different part of his life and we've seen how he has evolved. There's something about that that really touches me. But it also has themes of music, peace, love, beauty, and freedom, which is like tickling all of my heartstrings at the moment. Next up is Biography of X, and this is by Catherine Lacey, and it is about a recently widowed woman who is trying to put together and write a biography of her wife, who was a famous artist. And of course, during this process, she opens up Pandora's box of secrets, at least that's what the copy says, and is now sort of realizing that her wife may not have been the person that everyone perceived her to be. And from what I can gather, there's like a morality issue. Like, do you write something about someone that you loved that might shed a very unkind light on them? And what do you do in that situation when you find out information about somebody that is incredibly unkind? Do you release that to the public or do you keep that to yourself? I love questions like that, so this is tickling all of my, again, sort of tickling my heartstrings. This is like pulling at my heartstrings, pushing all of my buttons, like the buttons of I want to read that, I want to have that experience. I think it's quite ambiguous, but if you know my history with the book Alias Grace, which I didn't love because it was quite ambiguous, at least I would know going into this book that you would come away from it with feeling like it was playing with ambiguity in a way, and that you're not going to walk away with all of the answers. So yeah, I think also partly it's just like the cover of this book. The cover of this book gets me every single time. If you know anything about me, or if you don't, then you'll learn that I'm a huge fan of the book reviewer Steve Donahue. I just love his reviews and I trust them quite a bit, and I stalk his end of the year list as if it is my job to do so. So 2 books that might show up on the Booker long list that he wrote quite kindly about, that made his best books of the year, I'm also putting on my predictions list. The first one is The Singularities by John Banville. And this is what he wrote. This is what Steve actually wrote on his blog. Given how disastrously certain other authors dealt with quantum physics in fiction this year, the mere hint that John Banville likewise touches on this delineates paradise might have been the cause for alarm. But instead, we're starting off the list, because it's his number 10 on the list, with the quiet, quicksilver competence this author always brings to this story of a man confronting the quantum-infused variety of roads not taken. Okay, so we got some quantum physics going on. But yeah, I just wanted to put that on there because, again, like, I trust Steve Donahue's reviews, and thought that sounded interesting enough. Next one is Pogmahome, and it's by Patrick McCabe. Actually, John Banville and Patrick McCabe have been honored by the Booker before. So this is what Steve said. Again, it's in the context of his blog, end of the year, wrapping it up, so he's kind of doing a reflection thing while also giving you a concise little review. Not really a review, but like a concise short copy about what he thought of the book. So considering how strange a year 2022 was for fiction, with 90% of the things labeled novels containing no fiction, with novelists, in quotes, complaining about the grindstone while spending all day on Twitter and so on, very Steve Donahue to be complaining in his blog, it's perhaps fitting that this, the best novel of 2022, is likewise very strange, rushing forth in a flow of verse and black humor and real pathos in storytelling in telling an Irish story to end all Irish stories. This has, and then he talks about, but anyways, the book, I'll give you a little bit more. It is a twisting, psychedelic, bleakly funny fugue from this author, and it's supposed to be quite, cerebral, told in verse, so I'm interested. It's supposed to be quite a big book as well. And I feel like it's experimental enough that it might grab the author's attention. I'm throwing the last one on the list. The last one on the list because I've actually been talking about this with my friends in the background, not on my channel, but like in the back on the back channels of you know, the YouTube bookish community. I really shouldn't have added that last book because my camera cut me off. So this is the last book. I am gonna add it, but it's Alice Wins in Memoriam. And this is the description of it. Henry Gaunt, a student at an idyllic boarding school in the English countryside, is relieved to escape his feelings for Sidney Elwood, a classmate of his, when he enlists to fight in World War I, but is horrified when all his classmates join him. I've been hearing wonderful things about this, and I love a good love story. I love a good love story. So this sounds wonderful. I've heard wonderful things about Alice Wynn, and I'm just excited. I'm excited if this makes it. I will be like rushing out to go get a copy of it. Okay, well this is it for me. Tell me what do you predict will be on the Booker's long list? Tell me all of your predictions down below. Do you agree with my choices? Do you think that some will definitely not make it or that some will definitely make it? I would just love to know all of your thoughts and feelings. You know, that's very much appreciated. So yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in my next one. Bye.